Good morning. I'm Deborah DeBoer, and it is my pleasure this morning to introduce Scott Federighi, who is someone I know a little bit, but I actually know your boss
Yep.
way more than I know you. But here's what I know. If he hired you, you're good. That's what I
Thank
know.
you.
And you're on Tyler's team. You are part of
Yes.
his team.
Yep.
So I'm going to start with this question then, Scott. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but before I do that, why did you join his team?
It was so in life in general, I want to go to where the people who know what they're doing are, right? And so when I started in real estate at the our Barrington Market Center, I am like, okay, who are the players here, right? Who's the people who are making things happen? And then I want to go hang out with those people and see. And so it just kind of happened. Individual agent for a couple of years, then an opportunity came up, and Tyler and I had a little conversation. To make it a very short story, we had a conversation. He said, "Don't go there. Stay with me and be on my team." And so, fate kind of
Came in there.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to back up. Tell me a little bit about your story. How did you get here?
Wow. Besides Dundee Road, you mean?
Besides Sunday Road, which is a long story in
Yeah.
itself.
So my path to real estate. Worked my way through college in the construction business, out there swinging a hammer and remodeling and all that type of thing. So kind of always involved in the business. Then early 90s, I had an opportunity to go to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, where I took a huge cut in pay to be a runner and a clerk. Learned that business. Then the opportunity came along there to become a trader. Traded there for 16 years. And
You have
then,
a good nervous system.
yeah, something like that. Or I'm actually only 27.
Yeah, there you
go. And so then 17 years there, life changes sometimes, and that world went electronic. And so the need for floor traders went away. So then I found myself like, what am I going to do when I grow up at 40-something years old? So I had already been doing real estate on my own. I was buying and selling houses. I had a couple of spec homes, if you would, during the early 2000s, mid 2000s, when things were awesome. Everybody was a contractor and a builder back then.
Everyone was.
And so it just kind of seemed like a natural fit to get licensed for officially, and then start making my living doing this.
Okay. One question I ask, a couple of questions I ask everybody. What should I know about you that I don't know?
That's a great question. I would say that with me and people who are around me for any length of time, I'm consistently me. I'm always the same Scott, no matter what happens, good things, bad things, whatever. I'm a pretty steady person, if you would, and resilient.
Okay. Then the other question that I always ask, did you have a defining moment? What was your defining moment? See, I'm tricky. I ask a lot of hard questions.
Those are really tough questions. I think in life, right, we've got a series of defining moments, and then the next big defining moment, it's like, well, that other one wasn't really a defining moment, but now we're here.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of defining moments in my life. Obviously when my gut said, go ahead and take that super huge pay cut and become a runner at the Mercantile Exchange, I thought I was doing well working construction. And then I did that. So, that was a gut moment. That was a defining moment. Then obviously when I was presented the opportunity, hey, you've been doing this for a couple of years as a clerk. Do you want your shot in the paint, if you would?
Yes.
And me saying yes, and having a discussion with my wife saying, okay, I'm going to jump off the deep end now, and we're going to go do this. And then, along the way, I think the universe throws defining moments at us, and we don't necessarily get a choice. And life changes, and then you kind of end up here. I think one of the things that, and I don't even remember where I heard it or who said it to me, but like 5% of our life is really, really crappy, and 5% of our life is really, really awesome. And then the rest of it's somewhere in between there. And that, just kind of live in that 90%. And when really bad things happen, understand that it's not going to last forever. And when really, really good things happen, those aren't going to last forever either.
I hadn't heard that before. I kind of like that one. That it would sort of make everybody calm down a little bit.
Yeah. And especially in today's world, I don't want to get off on a crazy tangent, but like the world is wound really tight right now, I feel, and that everybody's looking for a reason to be upset about something.
Somebody said that we are, in their eyes, this is the most, especially here in the Chicago metro area, this is the maddest everybody's been.
Yes.
Everybody you meet is mad about something.
Correct.
Yes.
And looking for a reason to
And
be
looking
mad.
for a reason, and someone to point to, whose fault it will be
Yeah.
as well. There's one of our people in our audience is smiling and laughing and saying, "That's not him." Well, you are not you. Then, Marty, I will say to you, you are not usual. Anyway.
Never accused me of being usual.
Exactly.
The next question I have is, so how did you start? You came into this new without any business,
Correct.
and from a different kind of business where you had been, business had been coming toward you instead of you going for business so much. So how did you start when you came in here?
So there are huge differences in these businesses. The principles are very similar, though, and some of the things that lead to help you in being a good realtor are resilience and doing something every single day for your business, not being afraid to speak. All those things helped. As a trader, you had to, one of the lessons I learned very early on as a trader, my mentor there, don't be afraid of your own voice, he used to say. So it's easy to sit on the sidelines and say, oh, I would buy those there and I would sell those there, but to actually use your voice and take a step out and do something. And of course, in this business, and of course, we've got Marty in the audience today, right? It doesn't just come to you. You have to, every day, you have to do something for your business and work on your business and not be afraid of your own voice, if you would. And so knowing that, I just had to let the world know that this is what I was doing. I was now not Scott the trader, I was now Scott the realtor.
That's probably one of the trickiest things new agents have.
Yes.
When they come in for orientation, and I'll say to them, your family will not use you if you don't remind them that you've now changed your career.
Yep.
Yep, so you have to tell them, and not just once.
They need to be, and some of the best advice I got when I first started is not just let them know one time, but they need to be just like any other client. They need to be reminded quite often. And there's and anybody who's done this for any length of time knows that gut feeling when you see your niece or nephew at a family function going, "Oh my God, I just bought a house," and you're like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah, it's a bad day. It sort of sets, it kind of ruins the wedding.
Yeah.
Is what it does.
Yes,
kinda ruins the
it
wedding.
does, absolutely.
Let me be more specific. How did you let people know that? What tools did you use?
So I'm socially, I'm fine with talking to everybody and anybody, and so it didn't bother me. And so everything, if you would, email. I just learned to text a few years ago, so it wasn't text. It was email. Like Marty and I used to have these conversations all the time. It's like, eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly, handshakes, hugs. I'm an in-person person, and so I never had a problem being in person with people. So just a conversation, and really we can turn any conversation
I think into real estate.
into real estate. And so I, let everybody know through email blasts. Of course, anybody that I had any contact information went on some sort of drip campaign that said, Scott Federighi, Realtor, remember me,
Okay.
Type of thing. And then everyday life, we're interacting with people. And in everyday life, we can't be the secret agent. We have to, every day, you could be in line at Starbucks and say, beautiful day today, and someone talks about the weather, and you're like, yeah, it was terrible the other day when it was pouring rain. I had to show houses. And then next thing you know,
You're having a conversation.
you're having a conversation. Oh my gosh, you're a realtor. So letting the world know by any means possible, and it's not an obnoxious thing, just casual conversations. And
I don't see a name tag on you. I try to remember people to put their name tag on.
yes,
Or when they don't want to wear their name tag,
yes,
to go buy some branded logo stuff. Put
Yeah.
a logo on your body, because people will talk to you. You don't
Yeah.
even have to start the conversation. They will talk to
they
you.
will come. They will come up to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you a big community participator?
Yes, and so, in part of just me as a person is I love community. I am a big fan of like old school, like people hanging out in their neighborhoods and supporting their local businesses and all of that. So, yes, I'm a big fan of being involved in any community that I'm in, and really all communities are the same. It doesn't necessarily. They all have the same dynamic, if you
Right.
would. And so to be involved, and it doesn't take a lot. Sometimes we'll hear agents talk, and you're like, when do you sleep? Right?
Yes.
They're like, I'm the president of this, and I'm on that, and I'm on this, and pick a few things that are you, and just get involved. And,
Okay.
and I remember Tyler once in the very beginning when we were talking, and he said he knew that he had crossed a threshold, if you would, when he was at a town meeting, and they said, "Oh, Tyler's here. Tell us about real estate." So he knew that was a point where, okay, now I'm known as the guy, the real estate guy.
The critical part of that story, because I've heard him use that story as well, is that he'd been sitting there for
Yes.
12 months or 18
Correct.
months, just sitting there
Yes.
quietly, waiting for them to realize
Yeah.
he was the real estate guy. So one of the other things is this is not an instant business.
Nope.
It takes time. I think that's hard for people.
It really is. And I, coming from the other extreme, if you would, in trading, life is moving at 600 miles an hour.
Yes.
And anything you do, right now, this was a good idea or a bad idea that I just did. And so you have instant feedback and instant either gratification or instant, oh, I might not eat this afternoon. And in this business, there's just you have to be good with boring, for lack of a better word. You have to be okay with a repetitive, I'm going to do a whole bunch of work, and then I'm going to get business, rather than I get business. And I think some people have more of a wage mentality, if you would, where I work an hour and I get $1 or a sum of dollars. And in this business, you work a lot of hours before the payoff.
Before the
comes.
payoff. Yeah, I would agree. What's your favorite kind of real estate business to do? What do you like best?
I like all kinds, and I know that's not a great answer of real estate. I love, on one end, I love dealing with like first-time home buyers, even though I'm a listing agent and my business is primarily all listings. I love working with first-time home buyers, or this is the first time we're selling a house, and you get to teach and motivate. And on the other end of the spectrum, I love dealing with people who are, say, starting a business, right? And we're going to help them find them a storefront or an office or whatever it might be. And so, to me, the joy comes in, you have a problem or a challenge, and I'm going to solve that problem or that challenge for you.
Okay. So you're doing a little bit of commercial, or what are you doing more of?
Definitely more residential.
Residential,
Yeah.
okay.
And my commercial experience is limited to, office, retail, that type of thing. I don't do any of the industrial stuff or the warehouse stuff, but I really like the or multifamily type situations. So.
Can you talk about why commercial is different, a little bit different than residential? Because I think it's very different.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
people don't realize that.
Yeah, and so here I'm talking to the commercial expert in the room, right? So there's way more emotion in residential than there is in commercial, which is good and bad. I don't mind that there's a lot of emotion. I come from an emotional world, and being able to be the calm in the storm for people in that emotional world is very satisfying to me anyway.
Okay.
I like being one of my clients called me the human Xanax. So for his
That's
wife.
a nice compliment, yeah.
It really was, because he's like, my wife is like climbing on the walls And then I come home and she's nice and calm. I'm like, did you go to the doctor and get a prescription for Xanax? It's like, no, I got Scott. It's all good. So back to the
If you
question.
could bottle that, I would you could sell that one.
So back to the question. Residential is way more emotional and about things, and I don't want anybody to take it the wrong way, but things that don't matter, right? People are emotional about the craziest things. It's an emotional time in their life. This is their biggest investment, and they're either buying for the first time, or they're buying again, or they're selling, and their whole life is changing somehow, whether it's bad situation or a happy situation, it's changing. And in the commercial world, it's numbers. And I'm a huge fan of numbers. I love numbers. I love charts. I love that piece of it. So that helps me with that piece. And it's like, here's the facts. Here's what we got. Yes or no. Let's move forward or not move forward. You have to do a little more research. You have to dig in deeper, right, with the commercial stuff to make sure all the numbers align for the person who's buying or renting or whatever it is. And again, on the residential side, it's people pulling their hair out.
Yes, it's people pulling their hair out. This is a pull your hair out kind of market, probably because you haven't been in the market as long as in the real estate world as long as I have. This is a crazy market we're in right now. Probably the most challenging, and I've lived through, my first mortgage when I got married was at 18%.
Correct, yeah.
And my husband was a builder. I've lived through some miserable markets.
Yeah.
But far and away, this is the strangest one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that I was reading something or someone was telling me that the home builders are going great guns. It's really challenging for the people who are in the market now.
Yeah.
How are you surviving this market?
Doing the basics and doing more of the basics. And so I think any business in the world comes down to there's some basics that you need to do for that particular business. In this business, it's lead generation. And so if you used to lead generate for an hour a day or half an hour a day, now you need to do for an hour or 2 hours a day and get creative. Someone who's a little more experienced as far as birthdays are concerned than others, we're not as adept to the social media and everything else. Now, I've forced myself to be on social media. I've forced myself to do videos like that one.
This is a very nice video. We may show this video by the end of the day because I really liked it. You spoke. I mean, I knew you when you were doing that, so I like that video.
So I appreciate that because that's my. That's what I want people to know. And whether that's something that you like or dislike or want to have something to do with or not, that's okay because here I am. This is who I am. This is how I do things. And if that connects, then great, because now we're going to be a great connection.
Right.
And if it doesn't connect, then find someone that you do connect with.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that. One of the things, again, I do revert back to my life as a trader because it has so many life lessons in it that apply to any business. And you have to kind of forget it and drive on all the time. And in that business, if you spend too long, like either pouting because you missed something or pouting because you lost money or celebrating because you did good, you're going to miss the next thing. And so you just have to just take a breath and move on with your day. And that's, I think, what's super important in this business is I see too many agents getting themselves emotionally attached to the outcome. And we know what the outcome is, right? It's the payday, right? And I think people think that before they think of doing the right thing, and not necessarily people are doing the wrong thing, but what's the best thing for this client? Sometimes the best thing isn't for that client to buy that house.
Right.
Sometimes the best thing is for that client to pay up a little bit more. Sometimes it's for that client to sell their house a little bit less expensive, And so we have to be able to just again, be the calm in the storm and take a breath and say, okay, let's move on to the next thing, or let's get through this together.
Right. I like the idea to not be attached to the outcome. I think we have too many people right now who are far too attached to the outcome.
Agreed.
We're getting a fair amount of, I get chitter chatter from all the people that I work with, or our members and everything. And I'm hearing sad stories about people are not nice anymore. People aren't returning calls. People aren't doing the things they're supposed to. And I wonder how they think they're going to survive that in the long run.
Yeah.
You know, short term maybe,
Yeah.
but in the long run, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and it's you can't take it personally what we do. And again, this is an emotional time for people, whether they're buying or selling. And sometimes them lashing out at you or not returning your phone call, it's not because they don't like you. It's not because they've got a lot going on. And I spoke to a client the other day. They have a family matter going on. So obviously they're selling the thing that they never thought they would sell. And they've got a family matter happening. And in our conversation, his whole thing was like, I just need to take a breath. We'll talk in a couple weeks. I'm like, fine, sounds good. And I think too many agents want that. They want the yes right now, or they want the let's sign the listing paperwork right now, or let's get you moving onto the. And then, no, sometimes it's not our time, it's their time, and we don't want to pull or push people. We want to go along with them at their pace. And then I tell clients all the time, like, once you say let's get moving, then hold on, because we're going.
Move,
yeah.
I know you're doing mentoring over at your office.
Yes.
Why did you choose to do that?
It's one of my favorite things about this business. So the two pieces, right? There's the business that we make a living at, being realtors, and then giving back to our community and the business of the business. And I think the business of the business and helping other agents get to where they're going, and even if it's the littlest bit, I think it's, when I first started as an agent, to back that up, at our office, Tyler and a couple of the top agents used like once a month or once a quarter have, what do you got, what do you need? And they would just, and that all came about during the crash, right? And they were like, when people were pulling their hair out, agents were like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna feed my family? It was like Tyler would gather all the agents together and say, okay, what do you got, what do you need? And they would just kind of roll with that from there. And it helped me so much as a brand new agent to just sit in that room and absorb all the experience from agents who have been doing this for a long time and things that they did. And so I want to do that same thing and help other agents. I think quite often new agents are more afraid of the yes than they are of the no.
I remember one agent who, this is years and years ago, she came into the office frantically, and I was teaching a class or something, and she said, I'm in terrible trouble. I said, and why is that? They want to buy it. And I don't know what to do now that they want to buy it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I said, okay, we're going to figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
And I remember the absolute look of terror on her face
Yep,
that
yep.
they wanted to buy a house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think agents knowing that there's someone there for them that doesn't have a financial interest in it, but is willing to, kind of guide them along, and then watch them. It's really satisfying to me to watch an agent who maybe a few years ago was brand new and now they're doing really well. And so.
I was thinking about what you were saying about that, that's important to you to give back. And that you're getting, and acknowledging that you're getting something back from
Yes.
doing that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Switch a little bit. My guess is, and probably it's because I know Tyler. Tyler is a process man. You wouldn't think it when you meet him.
Yep.
But if you know him long enough,
Yep.
he's a process man.
Yeah.
Are you a process man?
I am a very consistent, in my whole life is kind of like a systems and processes, and where I'm, I don't know, some people might call it boring, right? Where I do the same things over and over, and I have, I appreciate who's come before me, right? I appreciate, and I'm going back to Marty again.
Okay.
But Marty and I used to sit and talk about things, and I would pick his brain about, he's got way more experience than most agents ever will. And in like the Jerry Hoffman and other top agents. And so I like, how did you do this? And it's the same business, it's just done in a different, right? from the beginning of time. I remember looking at houses when I first bought my first house, and we would go to an office and look through sheets and then get the key and then go look at a house.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think it's just that repetitive piece. I hope that answered the question.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to follow up with that. Do you track your numbers?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
We're in business for ourselves.
Okay.
We are business people. Every single day, we wake up unemployed.
So could I ask you to say, okay, you want to increase your business 20%.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what you would have to do to be able to do that?
Yes.
That's, I think, an amazing thing you just said.
Yeah.
Because I think 95% of the rest of the world has no idea about that. They think it's luck.
Yeah.
I think it's and sometimes it is dumb luck.
Mm-hmm.
There is dumb luck in this. But really what it is that you know your numbers and you know what you would, if you decided you want to buy a boat.
Yep.
And you need this X number of dollars more
Yeah.
to do that, you know what you have to do.
Yeah, and so knowing your numbers is super important. In my binder, that's in my car, I have my goals for the year, and Tyler, Kathy, and I sit down every year and we go over what our goals are, and I have a plan to get to those goals. That's in my car, and then I track what I do all the time. And so knowing that, and if I say, I'm down 20%, if I go back here and say, that's because you didn't do 1, 2, and 3. So if you know that, then you have an answer to it, and we all know in this business, and anybody who's ridden the roller coaster of real estate knows when we do the work, the business will come. Now, sometimes we have to do more work
I think
for
in
the
this
business.
market you do.
In
have
this
to.
market,
You do.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
And I also think in this market it's a good thing that you like people being a little edgy.
Yeah.
Because this is a really high edgy market right now.
Yeah.
You have buyers who are trying to buy and can't find a house to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Or they are still convinced that there are mortgages somewhere miraculously out there for 2.9%.
Yeah.
And now they have to pay six, whatever it
Yeah.
is right now. And they can't afford the house they could have afforded a year ago.
All right.
Or
Right.
18 months ago.
Yeah.
And they're mad.
Yep.
And they're frustrated. And then you get people, I don't know if you know this, but I live in Tyler's in-laws house.
Yes. Yes.
And he told me this probably 10 years before I actually moved into, bought that house. That's the house you're going to need to buy. That's also experience talking.
Yeah.
And when I came back from Alaska, I called him and said, Tyler, and I'm on my way home from Alaska, and said, hey, Tyler, I need a house. He said, okay. And that's the other thing about being an extraordinary realtor. He just said, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that when I arrived,
Yep.
there would be a house for me
Yep.
to do that. Now, it took us a couple of iterations to get there, but he's known for years that that was the house that I needed to live in. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. One of his superpowers.
It is one of his superpowers. And I'll tell you the other thing about him being an extraordinary agent. We went out and looked at rental houses because that house wasn't available quite then. We looked at rental houses, and even though I have known him since I think he was 18, and I was younger too then, he showed me 4 or 5 houses. We went out the first time, 4 or 5 houses, and I was just looking for a rental house. There was one, and I said, okay, we're not going to live here for long. We could live in this house, and that would be fine. He said, come on back to the office, and he said, oh, look what has just come on my desk. And that was, of course, the house that I rented.
Yeah.
So even then, he knew how to do sales.
Yes.
Because I think that's another aspect of our business that people don't really understand.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know how to do work, but you also need to have sales skills.
Yes.
How to, he said, I am convinced he set me up. He knew exactly what he wanted to do because he knew I wanted something even nicer than the one I rented in.
Yep.
He wanted something even nicer than that. But he also knew he was pretty smart to show me all the other things that were in the world for me to say, oh, good, let's take that
those
one.
were all terrible.
Those
Let's
were
go
all
with
terrible,
that
yes. So, and that was a sales skill that
Yep.
he had.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's another, now that I think in some ways is harder to teach. I can teach someone to do work, but to teach them that's experience talking.
It is, and I think part of people don't equate sales and relationships, and I think it's a relationship business first, which naturally becomes a sales business. And so when Tyler said okay to you, and you were at ease with it, that's part of the relationship. And we want all of our clients to be able to just pick up the phone and say, I need a house, and you to say, okay,
Right.
and then let's get started on our journey. And so building that relationship first, and when people hear sales, they think,
Oh,
there's a
you snaky guy.
yeah, pinky ring wearing, if I got a deal for you.
Yeah.
And they don't, equate that there's all this work that went on back here building a relationship to get to the point where I trust you.
I also think sales, we need a different name for it, because really what
Correct.
it is, it's helping me get there. Because I came back, I had no house. I needed someone who would help me to walk my way emotionally through to say, okay, that one.
Yep.
And that's one of those inferior things about sales that I don't know, that's the part you can teach.
Yes,
You can-
I agree with that.
To know how to help me through what's a hard process, no matter, like, as you said, no matter whether you're moving for good or for bad,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's the person who can help me walk through, or another person walk
Yeah.
through and be comfortable with whatever the next step is. And sometimes, I don't want to say that it's like manipulation, but it's knowing what you have to do to get those steps accomplished,
Yes.
and not trying to hurry things up, or leaving it to the clients to figure it out.
Right.
That's the problem I think many people have. They leave it to the clients to figure it out. No, you have to help me. That's what I need you for.
Right, and I think, and we'll go back to Tyler and his superpowers. He is absolutely great at understanding that piece of it, that you don't know what it is you're looking for.
Right.
I know what you're looking for. You're trying to articulate, and it's not necessarily coming through, but he already hears
Right.
the things that you want. And I think that's what we all need to be able to essentially hold your hand, and sometimes physically
Right.
hold your hand and
Hand
say,
to hold hand.
I've got you. And I don't think you need to believe what I'm saying. You need to believe that I believe what I'm
Yes.
saying. And so he's got me. He knows what he's doing, or she's got me. She knows what she's doing. And, he's going to take care of me.
I also think it has to do with, you have to have a really deep knowledge of your market.
Yes.
Incredible. Now, there are people here who will sell anywhere in Illinois. They make me nervous.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
They make me a little
Yeah.
bit nervous. I think you need to know your market
Yeah.
in ways that you say, no, not here, over here.
Yeah.
This is a better deal here. This is a better deal
Yeah.
here. Go here, do this. And I think there are a lot of agents who are just picking up any house there is to show, especially in the market now, because there are so few houses to do that.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to you saying sometimes the answer is you shouldn't buy this house.
Correct. And so I think there's a lot of lazy agents today, and things were created years ago called Zillow, right? Because there was lazy agents.
Right.
People weren't calling people back, so then they took advantage of that situation, right? So kudos to them for that. And so I think today there's agents who they're waiting for that buyer to send them, oh, I found this one today, can we go see it? And they're like, yep, let's go see it. Where if you know your market, and in fact, at today's roundtable, we were talking about this with a couple new agents. And I'm like, you're a brand new agent. You're not busy 7 days a week. And if you're not doing anything, make some phone calls, do whatever you got to do, then go out and preview houses in your area. Know what's there. I had a client call me and say, oh my gosh, why didn't you send me this one on, we'll call it Main Street. Why didn't you send me the house on Main Street? It's perfect for us. I'm like, do me a favor, click through to the 15th picture
And that's
and look in the backyard, and now I'll study that picture for 5 minutes. If you want to go see it, we'll go. I don't think that's a good fit for you.
Right.
And it was whatever was in across the street from the backyard
that they didn't want that.
that they didn't want that. And so that continues to build that relationship with that client, because like, he does know what he's talking about. And to your point, if you know the area, and I'll tell you, agents, like, if you're going to work in it, I don't care if it's a 6 square block area or a town or a county, know the statistics, know what's happening, know how many houses are on the market today. If I said to you, hey, Marty, how many houses are on the market in Villa Park? I want you to be able to say there's 17 new listings, 6 under contract. And if someone can say to you, I want to go see the one on Main Street, and that backs to a sewage plant, to be able to say, probably not a good fit for you.
Right. And I don't want your national stats.
Correct.
I don't want national
No,
stats,
no.
and I don't even want Illinois stats or even Northwest suburb stats. I want Crystal Lake. And
Yep.
even then, if I wanted a certain thing in Crystal Lake, I want that little, because you sold a house down the street from me.
Yes.
I want that little, I want to know what's going on my block in Crystal Lake.
Correct. Right.
And so it's that kind of really deep, companies are good about sending out the Illinois stats, the Chicago stats, or even their Villa Park stats.
Yeah.
But I don't care about Villa Park. I only care about this little piece of
Correct.
where I'm either selling my house or I want to buy in this area.
Right. Well, and as you know, Crystal Lake, a great example, because that's where we do a ton of our business, right? There's downtown Crystal Lake, where we're located, right? And we have a huge knowledge of downtown Crystal Lake. And for years, I think agents were afraid of downtown Crystal Lake because every house was different. They're old, crazy things like that. Having a deep knowledge of that in someone to say, oh, that house on Caroline, and you're like, oh, 35 Caroline? That's the one in the basement. If you go under the stairs, off to the right, there's a little,
Remarkable
yeah,
what that kind of knowledge
Yeah.
brings. Yes. Gives me such comfort that you know.
yeah,
Yes. You've made, I think, a good choice, because like I said, I've loved Tyler for years now. But you've made a good choice with that. If you were telling people to go interview companies, because we just had someone who came in and asked me this question. How should I, and the new people sometimes are overwhelmed by, oh, I walked in and they wanted to hire me right away. I said, chill. What would you tell them the things to look for in a company would be?
So, as a person who's always wants to be myself, and I don't want to pretend I'm someone else or fake I'm somebody else for the sake of getting a job, if you would, is see if they're your people. If there's a connection first, I think too often agents, especially agents who go from being a solo agent to being part of a team, from that perspective, there's worried about, oh, what's the split and what's that, and they concentrate on the money rather than the connection. And so I would say, make sure that it's a good fit for you personally. Make sure that is the thing. And then dig into the other things. Now, of course, if someone's going to, make you work 7 days a week and 17 hours a day and give you 2%, right?
Good plan.
That's not a good plan.
Right.
But if you walk into an office, and it's a perfect example is me going over to Tyler. And so Tyler and I don't see eye to eye on every issue. In fact, Tyler and I have had pretty good debates on certain issues.
Yes.
The fact that Tyler and Kathy and our team, we all respect each other, that you have an opinion, I have an opinion, we'll understand each other, and maybe we'll understand we don't agree on everything. And so a welcoming team, and not someone who's like, this is how it's going to be done, and you either do that or there's the door. A team that'll accept you, and if you have something to add. And I think to be part of a team is exactly that, right? It's no different than a baseball team or a football team or anything. You're an integral part of that team, and you have to be recognized as such. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And because teams are growing so, in some ways, disproportionately to the population. Everybody wants to be on a team. And I think people have the first reason people want to be on a team is, I want to be on a team because I want you to give me leads.
Yes.
I want you to
Give it
do
to
the
me for
work,
free.
Give
Yeah.
me the work. And then they get cranky because they're not, if I'm giving you the lead, then I need to charge you more because I'm doing the work for you. And then people get really crabby. So I think finding that you're people, but the part that strikes me of what you said is, but you have to have something to contribute to the team as well.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not just the team leader handing out leads.
Right.
You need to have something that feeds back into that to make it a very viable team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if people, the misconception, and it's a great point, is that it's not a handout. Being on a team isn't a handout. It's like, oh, you got nice hair. Come on in and let me give you a bunch of leads, and
Yeah.
you'll
And
make
you'll
a
be
six-figure income. Everything will be great. No, and I think that you need to think that going into that is like, what can I bring and make this team even better than it is now? When someone's bringing someone on a team, they're not bringing someone on a team to stay where they're at or go backwards. They're bringing someone on a team to build. And so.
The other thing about Tyler's team, he recognizes that not everybody is the same.
Yep.
So his team, I know that he's always had, that's why I asked about process. He's never expected everyone to do everything. There are certain people in the team that do this.
Yes.
And they do that very well, recognizing that he, for example, he'd rather be dead than do that activity.
Yep.
So he's
Yep.
also figuring out how to structure his team
Yeah.
to make the parts fit and still have a fine appreciation for, I need every one of those parts to make it work really well.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of teams that miss, that's a key they miss.
I think there's a difference between, say, like a personal team, and I don't know what the right wording would be, versus, say, like a corporate team.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of corporate type teams out there where, like, I read it in a book once. I need to have this, and this. That's your job. You do that. You do that. Sit down at that phone. And where our team and a lot of the teams centered around our world are more of the, we brought you on thinking that this was the best job for you. It turns out you're really good at this thing. Why don't we move you over here to do this thing here? And I mean, I remember like when I first started, because I came from being a solo agent doing everything for myself. And they were like, nope, slap your hand. Kim, give me that paperwork. Now go do what you do and give me that paperwork. And by the way, I'm terrible at like writing remarks for a house. If it were up to me, every house would be like 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath on Main Street.
We're going to have a
Come
class
see
for
it.
you about AI that you need to go do
So
to do that.
yeah, that scares the heck out of me. But anyway, and so it's like, give me that, Rachel. You write the remarks. Scott, give her your notes. You write the remarks, and we'll adjust if needed.
Yeah.
But you need to have more than 2 adjectives in your vocabulary. But I came from a world of first construction, where you said a lot of words that you can't write in remarks, and then trading.
I do hear them in real estate, though.
Yes.
periodically.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And I welcome those words in my world. And then where coming from a world of trading, where all you were doing is yelling numbers and buy them and sold and that all day long, and so my vocabulary kind of shrunk as I got older. And then when I got back into real estate, I was like, oh, I need to say more than a handful of words. And so even
An interesting realization.
yeah, and so I think the good thing about a business like real estate, number one, I'm a huge fan of entrepreneurship and free enterprise. And right now in this current world, I think real estate is probably the last bastion of free enterprise, where someone for a small amount of money can go take a test, and then as hard as you want to work, or whatever your goal is. If your goal is to make a car payment, you can do that. If your goal is to make 7 figures, you can do that as well. You just have to put the work in to do it.
Okay. Do you have any last words that you want to share?
I think there's I could share a lot of words.
Because you've been practicing.
I've been
getting more
practicing
words.
more words.
Yeah.
I think that do something every single day for your business. I know there's a lot of agents, and I've been, to kind of sidetrack, during the last few years, obviously lots of crazy things going on. I know a lot of agents were all curled up under their covers at home. And I would call other agents in the office and be like, all right, get out from underneath the covers, take off the Scooby-Doo pajamas, let's go. Let's get back to work. Or just take a shower, come into the office, you don't have to do anything. And so do something every single day for your business. And it doesn't have to be, we hear a lot of things, we read a lot of things like, lead generate for 4 hours and call 30 people a day and all that stuff. That'd be great if people did, but people get overwhelmed with that. Make 1 call a day. Go preview 1 house a day. Do something towards your business and make it your goal. If I can do 1 thing today for my business, then I can take the rest of the day off. And then people will soon realize, if I can make one call, I can make two. Or if I could get on Facebook and comment on someone's thing, it's like, or look and say, oh my gosh, she's pregnant. They might need a new house.
They might need a new house, yeah.
Hey, congratulations.
Exactly right.
So do something every day for your business. And I think in my world, whatever happens tomorrow, just keep continuing to be who you authentically are, and business will come to you.
Okay.
So.
That's great last word. Great last words.
you.
Scott, thank you so. Oh, wait, we have a question from the audience here. Marty, you want to? And you're close enough we can hear you. So, Marty.
I have to say thank you very much for the compliment about experience, but little did you know I was there picking your brain. Your experience. That's why I came up here and sat in the back to listen to you, because I do miss
Thank you.
the Friday mornings talk, because you do speak with reality.
Yeah.
You summed up everything that I didn't see in the last year. You know, in my group getting goofy in all this education and stuff. And
Yeah.
Deb's been one of my mentors in education. She always, says, here's what, it's experience.
Yeah.
You go to those people with experience because we're giving back. It's all about mentorship.
Yep. I completely agree with
Thank
that.
you for being open and honest with everybody. I hope this tape goes out to the whole group,
It does.
because it really you give a very good sense of where this market's going. We would get through it if we all work together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Know that we're not agents on an island, right? That we're all doing the same thing, and we're all struggling the same way. It's just I have a smile on my face right now.
I learned we're all God's children. Let's protect all our kids.
Yeah. There's plenty for
I
everyone.
really do appreciate it.
Thank you,
Anyway,
Marty.
thank
Appreciate
you, Marty. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate very much you spending time with me.
that. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed by this presenter are theirs. They may not reflect the views of North Shore-Barrington Association of Realtors.